You know, I believe Chesapeake citizens have always tried to do the right thing without having to be legislated. You know, we've been dealing for COVID-19 for 9 months now, and I know you, like me, we're just ready to get back to normal. But unfortunately, the COVID cases are on the rise, and it's not time to be complacent. It is more important than ever that we wear these masks, that we continue to stay 6 feet apart, and that we stay home if we're sick. You know, Chesapeake is a city that cares. So let's show that by doing our part to fight against this COVID-19.
Hello and welcome to Chesapeake Weekly Home Edition. That was Chesapeake Mayor Rick West with a message for all of us about COVID. So COVID is still a very real concern for us here in Chesapeake and across the country. Numbers are rising and we're expecting it to continue that way following the Thanksgiving holiday. So it's just as important as it was back at the beginning of all this to put into place all those mitigation efforts. So wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, avoid large gatherings, wash your hands, and if you're sick, stay home. In addition to COVID right now, of course, we also have flu season to be aware of, and it's certainly not something to be complacent about just because we happen to have another illness that we're dealing with at the moment. The great thing about flu is that we have a vaccine, and yes, you should get it. So we're hoping that everybody gets the flu vaccine. There's a lot to know when it comes to dealing with flu season while we're also dealing with COVID. There's lots of similarities and differences between the two viruses. So in order to learn a bit more, a couple weeks ago I sat down with Dr. Welch and Lisa Engel, the Chesapeake epidemiologist, to learn a little bit more about both viruses. And you know, my first question to Dr. Nancy Welch was, how are we going to know if what we have is flu or COVID?
But you are absolutely 100% right. It's going to be confusing for folks because the symptoms are very similar. Both of them are respiratory diseases. They get fever, they get malaise, they get respiratory congestion, coughing, trouble breathing. So they have very, very similar symptoms. COVID is unique in that they do have some unique symptoms. Okay. They have an altered smell often, or an altered taste, and that definitely is a clue that is COVID, not flu. But they do have similar symptoms, and that actually, because physicians don't want people necessarily coming in and contaminating other patients, they may do a lot of advice over the phone.
Sure.
So that they also are protecting the other patients who are at the office. And so sometimes the symptoms being very similar can be confusing.
And again, while I was there, I also spoke with Lisa Engel, the epidemiologist, and she had some really great information on how our mitigation efforts to stop COVID could actually help us during flu season this year.
Flu and COVID are very similar in the fact that they are respiratory spread.
Okay.
So the mask and the social distancing that we're using is talking about droplet spread. That's why we're saying droplets don't spread farther than 6 feet. If you can't maintain the 6 foot distance, then you wear a mask to protect other people. What we're trying to do is keep the respiratory out from you, away from other people. You're wearing the mask to protect other people, not the other way around. Okay. You do have a little bit of protection. That's obvious. I mean, your nose and mouth are covered, but the cloth masks really are used to keep the respiratory droplets out of the environment. So that works for flu as well as it does with COVID. Somebody has asked before why didn't we do this with flu season?
Yeah.
I would have loved to do it with flu season. The number one takeaway with the flu season that I hope carries over because of COVID in the future is for people to stay home when they're sick. That's the biggest thing that we're talking about with COVID. Everybody's heard this isolation term, and that means staying home when you're sick. If we got everybody to do that, we would not have as much of any of this in the environment as we do.
You can see that interview in its entirety along with all of our other Chesapeake television programming on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Chesapeake Television. Next up, let's get the Chesapeake Environmental Improvement Council's monthly environmental tip.
Hi, I'm Tabitha, a volunteer with the Chesapeake Environmental Improvement Council. Here is your December environmental tip. Get creative with your holiday gifting by using items like children's artwork, cool t-shirts, or even travel maps. That's a wrap.
The Chesapeake Environmental Improvement Council is a mayoral appointed board whose mission is to make a cleaner, greener, and healthier city here in Chesapeake. They do lots of events throughout the year, so if you're interested in learning more, you can find them on Facebook, or you can find them online at cityofchesapeake.net/CEIC. Well, the holidays will definitely look different in 2020 with so many celebrations being canceled, but we've got a super fun addition that we're doing for the first time ever this year. It's called Deck the Hall. We are bringing a free drive-through laser light show to project on the front of City Hall. Festive scenes, lights, it's gonna be so much fun for the whole family. So the show will take place from December 5th through December 20th from 6 to 9 p.m. each night. All you have to do to drive through the loop is start at Polly Miller Circle and Cedar Road. So that'll be the start of your loop, and you'll be sure to get a delightful, festive, seasonal show projected right onto the front of City Hall. A reminder to anyone who participated in our first ever Chesapeake virtual town meeting. We'll be sharing answers to many of your questions and concerns starting next week in video format, with also some answers written on our website. I'll be sharing some of those answers here on Chesapeake Weekly, and I'll let you know where you can find all of the other answers. Now, of course, we'll be posting them to the Spotlight section on our website, cityofchesapeake.net, and we'll also be sharing them on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Chesapeake Television. And of course, you can always check us out on your television. If you have Cox, it's channel 48, Verizon, channel 43. And while we're talking meetings, here's a quick overview of City Council and Planning Commission meetings throughout the end of the year. So we know the holidays tend to jumble things up, so we wanted to give you a good picture of what these meetings are going to look like through the end of 2020. City Council will meet on December 8th and 15th at 6:30 p.m. Their meeting on December 22nd will be canceled, as it normally is for the holidays. You can find upcoming agendas as well as minutes and videos from previous meetings at cityofchesapeake.net. Just click City Council. The Planning Commission will have their regular meeting on Wednesday, December 9th at 7 p.m. And you can find that agenda and video for the Planning Commission meetings at cityofchesapeake.net/planning. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great week and stay healthy. We'll see you right back here next week.